Just when critics thought Donald Trump's economic agenda had finally hit a wall, the story took a dramatic turn that nobody expected. A Supreme Court decision suddenly struck down one of Trump's most aggressive trade weapons tariffs that had reshaped global commerce and rattled America's rivals. Headlines exploded. Political opponents celebrated. Markets paused, and analysts rushed to declare the strategy finished. But within hours, something unusual happened. Instead of retreating, Trump moved faster than anyone predicted, unveiling a new tariff plan almost immediately. A movie supporters call, strategic genius and critics call, economic brinkmanship. Here's the twist. According to legal experts, the ruling wasn't about whether tariffs themselves were illegal. It was about how they were implemented. And that single technical detail may have opened an entirely new battlefield between the presidency and the courts. Was this a legal setback or a calculated reset? And why are both parties suddenly arguing over policies they once supported themselves? Stay with this story, because the real impact may not be about trade at all. It could reshape executive power, election messaging, and America's economic direction heading into a critical political season. The Supreme Court ruled that President Trump relied on the wrong legal authority when imposing certain global tariffs. Justice Brett Kavanaugh explained that the administration selected an incorrect statutory pathway, meaning the policy itself wasn't necessarily rejected, but the legal mechanism behind it failed judicial scrutiny. That distinction matters. The court didn't eliminate tariffs outright. Instead, it challenged the legal framework used to justify them. Almost immediately after the ruling, Trump announced a new tariff structure from the Oval Office, signaling a rapid pivot rather than a retreat. The updated approach introduced a revised system affecting multiple countries, framed by the administration as both an economic and national security measure. Trump argued tariffs have historically strengthened America's negotiating position and even claimed they contributed to resolving international conflicts during his leadership. Economic officials aligned with the administration emphasized preparation. They stated a backup plan had already been developed in anticipation of a possible court loss. According to them, the speed of the response proved the strategy was never dependent on a single legal pathway. Meanwhile, critics in Congress argued the tariffs increased costs and economic uncertainty, creating a sharp political divide over whether the policy helps American workers or burdens consumers. The clash quickly moved from legal debate to full political confrontation. To understand why this ruling matters, you have to go back years long before this courtroom moment. Trump's trade philosophy has always centered on tariffs as leverage. During his presidency, tariffs targeted imports from major trading partners, especially China, with the goal of protecting American manufacturing and reducing trade imbalances. Supporters argued factories returned and wages improved in certain sectors. Critics warned prices would rise and global tensions would escalate. The legal authority used for many of these tariffs relied on emergency economic powers designed for national threats. That's where the controversy began. Opponents argued those powers were never meant for broad trade restructuring. Lawsuits followed. Businesses, trade groups, and political challengers questioned whether a president could reshape global trade using emergency statutes instead of congressional approval. Interestingly, tariffs themselves were not always partisan. Years ago, figures across the political spectrum, including lawmakers now critical of Trump, voiced support for protecting American industry against unfair foreign competition. The debate evolved over time as economic outcomes and political alignments shifted. When global supply chains changed and inflation became a national concern, tariffs moved from economic theory to kitchen table politics. That history explains why today's ruling isn't just legal news. It's the latest chapter in a long-running fight over globalization, manufacturing, and presidential authority. The immediate question isn't simply whether tariffs stay or go. The deeper issue is power, specifically how far a president can act alone on economic policy. For Trump, tariffs are more than trade tools. They are central to his political identity. They signal toughness on foreign competition and commitment to domestic industry. A court limitation therefore becomes a political test as much as a legal one. Supporters argue the rapid rollout of a replacement plan shows decisive leadership and preparedness. They say it reinforces Trump's message that America should negotiate from strength and protect workers first. Critics, however, claim constant policy shifts create instability for businesses and consumers trying to plan long-term investments. That divide is already shaping campaign messaging. There's also an economic narrative battle unfolding. Administration allies point to wage growth and revenue increases as evidence tariffs worked. Opponents highlight rising costs and trade tensions. Both sides are using data selectively, turning economic statistics into political ammunition. And here's the microhook. The Supreme Court may have unintentionally amplified Trump's message. Instead of ending the debate, the ruling pushed tariffs back into the spotlight, exactly where political campaigns thrive. The controversy now energizes supporters while giving opponents new talking points, ensuring trade policy becomes a central election issue once again. Several paths could unfold from here. First, the administration's revised tariff framework could face new legal challenges, sending the issue right back into federal courts. If that happens, the judiciary may be forced to clarify exactly how much authority presidents have during economic disputes. That would set a precedent affecting future administrations, not just Trump. Second, Congress could step in. Lawmakers might attempt to rewrite trade laws to either limit or expand executive powers. That scenario would ignite another partisan battle, especially if economic conditions shift before elections. Third, global reactions remain unpredictable. Trading partners could retaliate, negotiate, or wait to see whether U.S. policy stabilizes. Every move abroad will influence domestic politics at home. And politically, this issue may evolve into a campaign centerpiece. Trump could frame the ruling as resistance from institutions while presenting himself as adapting and pushing forward regardless. Opponents may argue the episode proves instability in economic leadership. Either way, the fight is far from over. The next few months will determine whether tariffs become a defining success story or an ongoing legal tug-of-war shaping America's economic future. So here's where things stand. The Supreme Court delivered a legal setback, but not a final defeat. Trump responded immediately with a new strategy, reigniting debate over trade, executive power, and economic direction. Supporters see resilience. Critics see controversy. And voters are left watching a policy battle that could influence jobs, prices, and global alliances all at once. What makes this moment so important is not just the ruling itself, it's what happens next. Courts may weigh in again. Congress could intervene. International partners are watching closely. And as election season approaches, every economic headline will carry political consequences. One decision has triggered a chain reaction, still unfolding in real time. Stay tuned, because this story is moving fast, and the next development could change the entire narrative overnight. Follow for more updates as the Trump tariff showdown continues to reshape the political and economic landscape.